Coming up this hour, we're going to talk to John Nagel. He's in from Creath Beverages. Our craft brewer of the week, and today just so happens to be Christine.
National Beer Day.
National Beer Day today. Did you know that, Becca?
No, I did not.
We're also going to do a little free money question of the day. Give you a chance to win Hobeika's money. Always excited to do that. And I have some really good questions. Matter of fact,
hope so.
I'd like to use some of the used questions on you. I think you would struggle with some of these. These are, and you're
ready.
a Hamilton guy. I mean, you should be able to pull this stuff off.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right, on the line right now is Marc Butler, Assemblyman Marc Butler. In full disclosure, I've been hired by his campaign to do television commercials. Marc is on the air now. Marc, good morning, and thanks for coming on. So we're, by the way, I don't know if you heard the interview with Bard, with his high school coach, but how about this kid from New Hartford playing at the Masters?
That's pretty impressive. Yeah, he's getting a lot of publicity, and I know you moved me back on the schedule to fit that in, and that was very interesting to hear. I also enjoyed the interview with Andre Reed. He is really one of my heroes.
Yeah.
Buffalo is not the garden spot of the NFL, and they sometimes have trouble attracting top talent. But, boy, he's one of those guys that when he came to Buffalo, there was a connection there. The fans loved him, and he loved Buffalo, and it was a great synergy. So it was great to hear from him as well.
Boy, and it is hard to think about as a Buffalo fan. It did end in 4 losses at the Super Bowl, but those years, you just think about the quality of coaching, the quality of players, and then you kind of bring it forward a little bit, and it's a little depressing.
I don't know. Did you see the ESPN show or movie about the Bills in those 4 seasons?
No, I didn't. No.
They had a lot of the stars, Kelly, Andre Reed, all of them reflecting back on the experience of it all. It was just fascinating.
Well, you are a fan. I mean, you're watching the documentaries and the whole 9 yards. I will look for that though.
Well, I married a Buffalo girl, and the family gave me 2 requirements. I had to be a Bills fan, and I had to learn how to do the polka, and I come to regret both, I tell you.
Wow, that's funny.
All right, listen, I'm told that you're talking here about the something you're working on with the SAFE Act, and what's the deal there?
Yes, I mean we've had some discussions about the state budget and its implications, and I think I made my position very clear. My problems with it were as much about process as they are about product. But I do know with the minimum wage increase, they were able to successfully negotiate a cap for the increases in upstate New York.
Right.
They'll be capped at $12.50, and they'll also over the next several years ramp up much more slowly than in New York City. So, from my perspective, that's clearly an acknowledgement of the real differences that exist between upstate and downstate.
Right.
We've gotten some media accounts that most of the arrests and convictions under the SAFE Act are coming out of New York City. I think our law enforcement folks up in upstate, and we've heard from some sheriffs that say they're just very reluctant to even look at these kinds of offenses. I mean, the bill is just so egregious, or the law is just so egregious. So my thought was this: if we can do it with minimum wage, why don't we do it with other types of legislation? Let's have a carve out for all of upstate, and why can't we do that for the SAFE Act? I mean, it's a different world up here, a different philosophy, and everybody would be happy. In New York City, if they want their SAFE Act, they could have it, and we could be free of this onerous legislation and bill.
Assemblyman Butler, define for most of us upstate, would it be north of Westchester?
Well, that was the definition they used in the Minimum Wage Act, north of Westchester County, yes. I mean, they have already identified that geographic area, and certainly I would use that same language and incorporate it into any bill that comes out as a result of this. But, again, there's a clear acknowledgement there that it's a different set of circumstances.
Right.
So would this completely eliminate upstate, the SAFE Act, or would you be able to carry a full clip? Can you
Well, that would be my ultimate goal to fully eliminate it. The governor could still take credit; he got it in New York City, but we would be relieved of the obligations under the SAFE Act. Again, look at Remington Arms, the impact it's had on that.
Right.
Bushmaster, which that company manufactures, is now illegal in New York State. What company in the world wants to stay and do business in a state where they outlaw one of their products?
Right. So how does how do you get, these people that feel that they've made New York safer by passing tougher laws, how do you convince them that that upstate is, by doing it differently upstate, it's still gonna keep New York safe?
Well, one of the things is we now have some empirical evidence, as I said. A vast majority of the arrests and convictions under the terms of the SAFE Act are occurring within New York City. I think we have it in black and white that in upstate it's just not working. It's essentially unenforceable.
Yeah.
Assemblyman Butler, let me take it to the extreme for just a second. So then do we end up creating like a gun running thing that happens in Long Island and Westchester because they're so close to upstate?
I don't see that happening at all. I mean, we've up until 2013, before the laws were changed, I don't think there was this kind of commerce that was going on. I mean, I don't think it has the opportunity to be even more expensive than what was occurring before the SAFE Act was passed. So I really don't see that as a factor.
Okay.
I want to switch gears just a second and talking. In my interview yesterday with Assemblywoman Tenney, it was brought up about the voting for the for minimum wage, and in her case, she voted against each element of the budget. And some of those you voted for. You voted for, am I correct, for the hospital, and you voted for the nano money coming here. And
well, they were, yes.
Explain that, and listen, and fairness, justify how you can justify and for yourself to vote for this, even though there's probably some things in there that you got to kind of plug your nose when you're voting yes.
Well, I think you come back to that old canard that all politics is local. Those items were included in a bill that had aid to localities. I understand clearly and perfectly what a successful nanotech development can mean, not only for Utica and Oneida County, but for the whole Mohawk Valley. And when I see that kind of money coming here to develop a project that's going to result in not only jobs on the spot, but spin-off businesses and surrounding communities, certainly it will have an impact on housing prices and right up down the line. That was my motivation. In addition to that, there was an item for $300,000 for an economic development group in another part of my district in Fulton County. So when I look at those cumulatively, and you're right, the budget as a whole, I had some grave concerns about. But when I look at those specific items, there's just no question. I feel I've got to be a homer and try and take care of my constituency.
And the minimum wage. I know. Were there concessions in there? They're going to take care of farmers, or is it all laid out in the fact that it's really stretched out and it's only going to $12.50 by 2022?
Well, there was a provision for income tax credits for farmers. They ramp up as the minimum wage goes into effect. Many of us feel those credits will be minimal. I think the first year it's something like $200 per employee when you cost it out. I think one of our members said that accounts for about 12% of the amount of the minimum wage increase. But they were able to successfully. In upstate, it's capped at $12.50. The phase-in period is much longer. In New York City, the minimum wage goes to $15 in 3 years. Upstate, I think it's 5 or 6 years before we get to $12.50. So I do give credit to my colleagues in the Senate. It wasn't a home run out of the park, but at least they were able to negotiate a lower upstate rate of $12.50. Right. So and that's what I mean when I say there's an acknowledgement that we have different circumstances.
All right, and back to that, the SAFE Act issue. How do you roll that out? How do you Are you going to propose a bill?
I'm talking with my staff, and we think a bill may be ultimately what we need to do. I would like to get a little bit of a groundswell reaction, possibly through a petition campaign, an online petition campaign. So when we present this, it's not just another crazy idea that Marc Butler came up. The residents of New York State believe this is an appropriate way to go with it.
All right, Assemblyman Marc Butler, we appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on.
Always a pleasure, guys.
Okay, and and go Bills.
Okay.
A little early. Go Mets. All right, Mark, thanks. Coming up, we'll talk to Hobica Beer coming in the studio, our craft brew of the week, and a chance to win our free money question of the day. Here's Christine with an update.